Knowing what to do and how to do it is super valuable. That's what a course provides. But actually getting the result is something totally different. And the thing that helps bridge that gap between knowing what to do and how to do it and getting the result is a membership. And that's why a membership and a course go hand in hand together.
Hey there, welcome back to another episode. And as you can see, I have a very special guest, someone who I respect immensely. And I don't know where you've been if you don't know who Stu Mclaren is, but he, in my eyes, is the membership guy, the one person you should be going to, and the person that I've gone to for membership advice 3 years and running now. And he's here to share some quick, very important tips about just how you could explode your business growth with a membership. How do you even know a membership would be right for your business if you don't have one already? And if you do have a membership already, he's going to share something that you probably haven't considered in your business that means that you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Stu, thanks for being on The Art of Online Business.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it's definitely going to be a cool episode. So I thought we would just get right into it and start with, why did you end up teaching memberships? Like, how did you first start?
For me, back in 2008, I had just gotten married, and my wife and I were looking to start our family. And at the same time, I had a business that was growing, and it was a consulting business. And if anybody's ever worked with like clients like that, you know that there's like this point of tension, because the only way to really grow is to give more of your time. And I didn't have any more time to give. And so I'm like wanting to grow the business, but I'm already like burning the candle at both ends. And then my wife and I just got married and we're looking to start a family. And I'm realizing like these two things are not lining up, because if I want to be a present father and a husband, then I can't, be working, and burning the candle at both ends. So it was at that point that I took a moment and I talked to a mentor of mine, and he said, you know what you should do is you should start a membership and you should teach people the things that you're doing with your clients. He's like, if you do that, you can teach one time, but you could teach hundreds of people, thousands of people who would each pay you on a monthly basis. And I'm like, that sounds amazing. So I started going down that path, but the technology then was not what it is today. And so I very quickly was way out of my league. I was, dealing with things like HT access files and server settings. And I was just like, this sucks. Like I can't do this. And so I'm moaning and groaning to a friend of mine. His name was Tracy. And then he said, I'll never forget. He's like, well, why don't you just create your own solution? And I remember when he said it, I'm like, is he even listening to me? Like, I'm sitting here saying that I'm struggling with the tech, and he always suggested I go and create a tech solution. I'm like, no. I'm like, Tracy, I'm not a programmer. Of course I'm not going to do that. And he said, well, look, I've been working with a programmer for a long time who's really good that I think could help bring a membership site idea together. Do you want to partner? So we did. And a month later, we had the very first version. And a month after that, we launched to the general public. And that piece of software went on to become the world's #1 membership platform for WordPress. And we were powering over 70,000 online communities and memberships. And so that's where I started to gain my experience in the membership world, because when you're behind the scenes of 70,000 online communities and memberships, you start to see patterns. And so the majority of people would launch a membership and their growth would plateau or would slowly taper off. But there was this other small group of memberships that were growing year over year over year. And so I just started paying attention to them. I'm like, well, what are they doing differently? And they were doing things that were completely counterintuitive as it related to the way their memberships were set up, their marketing, how they keep members happy, all of that. And so ever since, I have been teaching those best practices. I've launched my own and grown my own 6-figure, 7-figure memberships. So every single day, like we still have our own 7-figure membership today. Like I live, eat, breathe this stuff as a membership site owner. But now I've since taught over 17,000 plus entrepreneurs in tons of different markets, from photography and calligraphy to fitness and finance, music, art, health, dog training. We even have Holly George in our community who teaches people how to make balloon animals, for crying out loud. And she's got thousands of members. And so I share this because since 2008, this has been my entire focus, is helping people launch, grow, and scale memberships. And I'm more passionate today than I ever have been.
Right on. I consult with plenty of online course creators, and a number of which have already just experienced the goodness that you have to offer as far as membership strategies and tips and tricks and behind the scenes ways that they can grow their membership. And I think for the listener who is listening right now, who is an established online course creator and looking to increase revenue, how would they know? Because they're probably wondering, like, is a membership the right fit for their business now? Like, how would they be able to decide that? And maybe you can share a couple of, or one story that would help motivate them in the right direction.
Yeah, well, what I would love to do, I'll definitely share stories. I got tons of examples, but I want to give people a visual. Okay. Can we walk through a quick little exercise?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So let's just imagine like a course business. We're going to do, I know sometimes people don't like doing math, but we're going to do a little bit of math. We're going to do what I call membership math. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through an exercise that will visually bring forward the power of a membership. So let's just imagine a course business and let's just use simple math. Let's just say that they are generating 100 sales a month at $97 a sale. Okay. So that would bring in $9,700 every single month. So if you total that up over the course of the year, it's just over $116,000. Okay. So that's the traditional course business. Now, here's what happens when we take the same number of new sales and the same price point, but we put that into a membership model. So 100 new sales a month at $97 a month. At the end of the year, that membership business is not $116,000. It's actually $756,000. There's a huge difference. Now, the skeptic in the audience would say, yeah, but Stu, that doesn't count for churn. That doesn't count for people leaving the membership. And they'd be 100% right in saying that. But let's just take a step back in that thinking. Worst case scenario, absolute worst case scenario, is that every single new member leaves the month after they join.
That would be bad.
Absolute worst case scenario actually means that that membership business makes the same amount of revenue as the traditional course business. But that never happens. 100% churn never happens. Most cases in my community, people will see churn between 5 to 10% a month. Not 100%, 5 to 10%. So when you do the math on that, that means that that membership business is generating between $500 to $600,000+ by the end of the year, compared with $116,000. So the reason I say this is because when we start looking at our effort, a membership business, it would take a course business 6.5 years to be able to generate the same revenue that a membership business would in 1 year with the same number of new sales and the same price point. So if that doesn't excite a course creator right now, I don't know what would.
Hey, we'll get right back to the episode in a moment. You want to make sure that you're avoiding all the mistakes with Facebook ads that could cost your business a good amount of money because your ads just aren't running like they should be. Well, you can hop on a call with me and I can look at your Facebook ads and you get to leverage my 3 years of Facebook ads management experience, optimize your account, fix it up right then and there on the call, so that your ads will be running better and getting either more leads for you or making more sales for you. If you want my help, that is theartofonlinebusiness.com/call. And we can hop on Zoom together and you will learn so much as I fix your ads for you. All right, now back to the episode.
But here I can share story after story, because memberships and courses go hand in hand together. Because I guarantee that your listeners who have a course, they've probably received questions from people after going through the course. Would you say that's fair?
Absolutely true.
Right? Like the reality of it is that people will not have mastered all the things that they have learned from you in a course, and now they're in that like almost like panic mode. Like, well, wait a minute. Like, what's going to happen now that the course is over? Like, am I going to be able to get, ongoing help? Like, what happens if I got questions? Like, they have this panic moment. And that's where a membership can come into play, because knowing what to do and how to do it is super valuable. That's what a course provides. But actually getting the result is something totally different. And the thing that helps bridge that gap between knowing what to do and how to do it and getting the result is a membership. And that's why a membership and a course go hand in hand together. So let me give you an example. So Nicholas Wilton, he is a artist, and he has a course teaching people how to produce these beautiful types of paintings. And I remember his course was rather long. It's 12 weeks. So if you can imagine, that's a long course. But he was on like week number 10. And we were chatting, and he was kind of in a panic. He's like, Stu, I'm getting all these questions for people that are asking those things. What's going to happen? Am I going to get continued support? Can I still get, eyes on my artwork and feedback and so forth? And he's like, I know I should launch a membership, but I don't have time to like put it all together. And I said, dude, just offer a founding member launch. Just invite people to come and join you. Be open about the fact that you don't have everything figured out. You don't have everything created, but you can see that there are people who are asking questions like screenshot, screenshot, screenshot. And I said, if you do that and just invite people to come join you as founding members, and you've set the expectation that you don't have it all set and figured out, but that you will, I said, you'll immediately be able to start generating recurring revenue with a membership. He had about 200 people who were going through the course at that time. So they were on their final webinar, and he walked through exactly the process that I outlined. And he explained, like, I wasn't thinking about a membership, but these questions were coming up. It got me thinking about you. It got me thinking, how can we continue the momentum? How can we continue to support you in your progress with your art? He's like, I don't have anything created. Like I said, it's just an idea, but I do want to invite you, if this sounds interesting, to come and join me as a founding member. And I'll extend to you like favorable pricing. And when we do launch it to the general public, the price will go up, but your price will stay the same. So he walks through that process, roughly 200 people. Over 180 of them signed up at $30 a month. That was generating $5,400 a month in month number 1. And so I share that because after somebody comes through a course, if you have delivered and created an amazing experience for them, they are naturally going to want to continue working with you. And the line that I always love is, I always say something like, when we look back on the last 8 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever it is together, and look at the progress that you've made in that short period of time. Imagine the kind of progress that you could make if you were immersed in this community all year long. And so if you deliver on that course experience, people will have made progress. And now you're projecting forward. Like, imagine if you're making that progress all the time. Now they naturally want to join the membership. And that's the true value of why a membership helps people make so much progress over a longer period of time.
Every time I hear that, I'm just wowed. And I can say to the listener, though I did not tell you this, Stu, both me and my wife in the past have used your founding member launch method to do that exact same thing successfully before we actually created our program and then her membership back in the
That's
day.
amazing.
So I just want to thank you for that, because I hope the listener goes to your workshop, which at the time of the airing of this episode, they will have maybe missed the first session. But I can honestly say, after attending a lot of different webinars and trainings, that yours is among the most valuable. And it only still happens once a year, right?
Well, first off, I really appreciate that. Thank you for that. And that is super awesome to hear how you've used it for both yourself and your wife. You have to give her a high five for me. But yeah, definitely. We run it one time a year, and it's a 4-part workshop. So, even though you've missed part one, maybe come join us for the other parts. They're super valuable. And in fact, well, I'll just give the listeners a little insight. We may, wink, wink, be walking through that founding member launch process during the super secret segment of workshop number 2. And I share that because the super secret segment, by the way, is for everybody that shows up live. That gets edited out of the replays and recordings. So you want to be there live. But that process, it works. As you mentioned, it worked for you, it worked for your wife, and we will have people who will legit launch their membership sites during the free workshop, which is insane. Like, imagine coming to a free workshop and then by the end of it, you're generating recurring revenue from a membership that you didn't have when you first came in. Like, it is possible. And we will show you how. We'll walk you through the process. And I can't wait to share the results with you and with everybody.
It's true. It's true. And I feel like in a space that can be so saturated, online marketing, what you teach in the workshop is really, really good and very, very applicable right away. I love it. So for the listener who already has a membership and maybe hasn't had the success that they had hoped, but they haven't given up yet, like what's the one thing that you would want to leave with them, that you would want them to know so that they're not leaving so much money on the membership table, so to speak?
Well, when we talk about money being left on the membership table, so much of it boils down to our ability to keep people happy and paying. Like, P.S. Isn't this an amazing business model that we get paid to keep people happy? As long as we keep people happy, they keep paying. Like, it's a beautiful thing. So at the end of the day, that's what we've got to focus on. And there's a few things that I would put my attention to. First and foremost, there's been a study where they looked at how do we increase the lifetime value of a member to a membership? And what they found was if a member has a positive experience in the first 30 days, it will on average triple the lifetime value of that member. So then the question becomes, okay, how do we create a positive experience in the first 30 days? Well, so much of it boils down to your onboarding. And there are 3 key areas you want to pay attention to. Number 1, when a member first comes into your membership, you want to make it very clear about where they are in this journey and what they should be focusing on. Most memberships, unfortunately, provide the same experience for everybody. They drop them into a membership that has a ton of content, and now the weight and pressure is on the member to figure out what content is relevant and what they should be implementing. And so they've got to do all the work. They've got to do all the thinking. And so what that does is it creates overwhelm, and then they bounce and they leave. So what we want to do is we want to ask a few questions when somebody joins our membership. And we want to help identify where are they in the journey of going from where they are now to getting the result and outcome thereafter. And so in that, we might say, oh, okay, great. Based on your answers, it looks like you're at stage number 2 of this journey. And based on that, here is what I recommend you do first. And here are some lessons that are relevant for you to dig into now. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to make things clear. Clarity is really important for somebody joining a membership because that begins to create momentum. That brings me to number 2, and that is connections. My family and I, we moved to a new area a couple of years ago. And I remember my wife and I, we walked our kids to school on that first day, and we were nervous. Like if any parent is watching or listening, you've probably experienced that. You just want your kids to feel settled, as they're going to this new school. And so I remember we said goodbye to the kids and we just crossed our fingers and just hoped that they would have a great day and feel settled. So we go to the end, fast forward to the end of the day. My wife and I are there for school pickup, and I'm looking for my kids, and my daughter comes out first. And I'm gauging the look on her face, was this a good day, bad day? And she's got this big smile on her face. And I'm like, oh, and she comes running up, and I said, how was it? She's like, Dad, this is the best school ever. I'm like, really? I'm like, tell me why. She's like, well, you know how I used to go to Montessori school? I said, yeah. She's like, there's a girl in my class that also went to Montessori school too. I'm like, that's amazing. She's like, but it gets better. She's like, you know how I love horses? I said, yeah. She said, there's another girl in my class that loves horses as well. I'm like, oh my gosh. She's like, but Dad, this is crazy. You know the new stable that I'm riding at? And I said, yeah. She said, her mom owns the stable. I'm like, get out of town. She's like, Dad, this is the best school ever. Time out. Her framing of this being the best school ever was because she made one meaningful relationship on that first day. If we can help our members make one meaningful relationship, it can frame up their entire experience. And there's all kinds of ways to facilitate that connection. And one of the ways in which we do it in our community is when people are onboarding, we ask a series of questions like, where are you from? Are you open to being interviewed? Are you open to interviewing others on a podcast or in your membership, etc.? And then with that directory, we help facilitate connections. And so that helps create the connections. You can do it inside of a Facebook group when people are introducing themselves. Give them questions that pull out connection points from your members so they can find commonalities within each other. But connection is really important. And at the end of the day, if we just help them find one meaningful connection, it can frame up that experience. And then the last thing that we want to do to really cement that positive experience in the first 30 days is we want to help people get a result. At the end of the day, people are signing up and joining your membership because they want some kind of an outcome or they're looking for some kind of a result. If they're not consuming your content, they're not using it, implementing it, and getting a result, they're going to bounce and they're going to leave. So when I talk about result, many times people focus on the big outcome, the big result. So for me in my world, that would be like somebody coming in and launching a membership site with thousands of members. Like that's the big outcome. But there are many steps before that. And what we want to do is we want to help people begin to experience progress. Like even slow progress is still progress. And we want to reflect back to them the progress that they're making so that they feel the momentum that they are beginning to experience. That momentum creates confidence, and because of it, they will want to continue to stay, continue to go deeper and deeper. So if I'm speaking to the person who wants to improve retention, focus on number one, making things clear. Number two, helping your members form deep connections, one meaningful connection. And number three, help them get a result and experience progress.
Wonderful. And we don't want to spoil anything for somebody who has not attended the training yet. So I can wholeheartedly say you're listening to this podcast. If you have not signed up yet, don't worry that you missed the first session. The next ones are going to be absolute fire. Head down to the description below, click the link, register, and make sure to put time on your calendar to see Stu live and learn. You will absolutely walk away with good things that you can put into practice in your business right away. I had prepared screenshots so I could actually show you the two success paths that like me and my wife used in our memberships, but they really did help people get a win and help people get clarity on where they're at and where they're supposed to get to and the steps along the way. And thank you, Stu, for everything that you've taught me over the past years. And thank you for taking a moment to share on this episode.
Well, I'm super grateful. I never take these opportunities for granted. And my hope is just that people watching and listening, a seed has been planted of like possibility of how a membership could fit within their business. And during the workshop, I share a ton of examples. You're going to hear all kinds of examples from people who launched a membership with little to no audience to more established businesses like your viewers who've got courses and then parlayed into a membership, and the difference that compounding revenue makes. It's incredibly inspiring, and you'll hear from people in all kinds of markets. And so what I want to do is I just want people to realize, like, as business owners, this is more important today than it ever has been. A few weeks ago, the US government was talking about completely banning TikTok from the US. Now, why is that relevant when we're talking about memberships? Well, there are over 7 million businesses on TikTok that depend on that platform for either traffic, leads, or sales. So with one decision that they can't control, whoop, they now have a very vulnerable situation on their hands and they're scrambling. But this is true for any business. We all have vulnerabilities. Like a few years ago, the pandemic exposed vulnerabilities for brick and mortar stores, right? And so we all have them, whether it's depending on a launch for revenue and the launch flops, huge vulnerability. Or maybe it's depending on a few clients and a major client leaves, huge vulnerability. We all have vulnerabilities in our business. But what I want to say is that a membership helps shield us from so many of those vulnerabilities. It creates that predictable, stable revenue in our business that no matter what, at the start of every month, we are starting it with the momentum of the month before. You're never starting from zero. And I'm passionate about this more than ever. And so I just want to encourage everybody, come join us. It is going to be an amazing workshop. It's all free. And I can't wait to help you get your membership launched.